Ladies and gentlemen, Movies with Mark.
Good morning. How are
Morning.
you? Everybody good?
Yeah, did you doing your warm-up exercises?
I was just, yes, I'm doing my warm up. Me. It's wet and cold here in Merrill, England,
Oh, well, it's
Portland. And
beautiful in Wisconsin today.
is it really?
Yeah.
67 and sunny.
What's the temperature?
67 and not a cloud in the sky.
Yeah.
That's great. See, that's good. Well, this rain will get to you eventually. You've had your share of. I guess you haven't. The East Coast has really been
Yeah, they've been.
drowning.
We had a couple of rainy, gloomy days in a row.
It starts at the Mississippi and doesn't turn into rain till it blows over us.
Okay,
Then it hits the
right.
Okay.
coast.
Yeah, I don't know how that works. So the movie for this week is The Last Picture Show. We were inspired to watch The Last Picture Show because I loved HUD, and we all loved HUD so much. And it's from a Larry McMurtry story, HUD is, and so is The Last Picture Show. The Last Picture Show is also the film that discovered Sybil Shepherd.
I didn't
Smoking
recognize
hot.
her in that. She looked good in that movie.
Who's good? You think she's good in it?
I said she looked good in that movie. I didn't recognize her.
Oh yeah, she was a child. I don't know how old she was, but she was. I guess she'd done some modeling, but the legend is that she was chosen for the part because of her blankness
Mm.
and because of her breasts. Because in Bogdanovich's original director's cut, when she stands on the board, and it wasn't in the version I saw on Hulu. I think it was Hulu. But she takes her top off entirely. She strips in the movie, but you don't see it.
Oh, we saw it.
Oh, you did? Oh, where did you? What version did you see?
We saw just boobs only, and then she sat down on the diving board and took her panties off.
Okay, yeah. The version I saw must have been edited for television because you didn't see the boobs. But she.
Oh, a lot of nudity.
We rented it. It was on Amazon.
Oh, you paid for it. See,
It was like
More nudity than I expected I was going to see.
$3. I didn't find it on Hulu. I didn't realize.
There must have been 20 nude people in the movie with the pool scene.
with the where were the pool party there? Everybody was nude, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Was there more nudity than that? Was Cloris Leachman ever nude?
She never showed anything.
Okay.
But the first lady, it was really odd how people have sex back in the day where you just stand away from each other and fully undress and then come together. There's no like romantic, I'm taking your shirt off.
The scenes were also
None of those tracking shots of a stocking strewn across the floor and a bra over the sculpture by Rodin and stuff like that. Yeah.
It might have been intentionally for the awkwardness, and I couldn't tell if the sex scenes were intentionally awkward or if that's just the way they did them back then.
I have a weird theory
where
on
the
this.
dude was just kind of laying.
This is
like
why
there was no like movement.
Yeah, I think that's very intentional. That's about time and place.
Yeah.
It's the 50s.
Right.
It's West Texas, and very conservative, very awkward. And it's all about. I mean, I think Bogdanovich errs in making it more about sex than it actually is.
I have a weird theory on this movie. I'd like to run by you, and you correct me where I'm wrong. It was really hard for me to pinpoint what this movie was freaking about.
Right.
I really think it has to do with the town, and the town is rotting through all this like devious sin, and the kids are bad. They're picking on, the mentally challenged kid, and there's adultery, and these kids are going to Mexico, and the only two real genuinely good people in the movie are Lion Sam,
right? Sam the lion,
the waitress,
right? Genevieve.
So the only way to get out of this town is basically to die, because besides the girl that was sent away for the bunk marriage, the other guy, Jeff Bridges, went to Korea, probably died. The boy died. You either stay in this rotting town that's just crumbling, or you die.
Well, now the Timothy Bottoms part doesn't die, does he?
He stays in the town. He turns around when he was going to leave and comes back.
That's right, and comes back. He stays there, right? I think he's a genuinely good person too, or
Even
wants to
with
be.
listening to the fight song about loyalty while looking at his coach when he's banging his wife. You think that guy's good?
Yeah.
He's doing the Cloris Leachman part, the wife, a favor. I mean, it's at her invitation. He's not the bad guy in that relationship, and neither is she. The coach is the bad guy because the coach is completely absent and ignoring this really rather lovely woman who needs someone to
Mhm.
care for.
I didn't recognize Cloris Leachman in this either.
Well, there's a lot of people. Jeff Bridges was early Jeff
Yeah.
Bridges. Timothy
dude.
Bottoms, huh?
The
The
dude. He's forever known as the dude. I'm sorry,
That's the
that
dude.
role.
That's right.
just-
That's right. I forget that. Yeah, this was way before the dude, though. This
Yeah,
was,
I know.
and who else? Timothy Bottoms. Nobody knew who Timothy Bottoms was when this came along. Cloris Leachman, Sybil Shepherd. And Sam the Lion, Ben Johnson, had been an actor in Howard Hawks movies. He was an old timer, but he was really originally a stuntman and one of the great horse wranglers of all time, of all Hollywood. Really, truly a cowboy, and truly from that part of the world.
Yeah.
And and lots of good and who else? Oh, and then Eileen Brennan is Genevieve, the waitress who inherits the diner,
Yeah.
who had a tragic accident. She was walking home from a restaurant in Venice and got hit and hit and run and crushed
Really?
both her legs, I think, and she
Oh.
never made it back. I mean, she lived, but she didn't. She wasn't able to work anymore for a while. It was very traumatic and everything.
Randy,
But you're right. It's hard to figure out what this movie is about and why it's there.
Who was Randy Quaid?
Randy Quaid was the
And-
nerdy dude that stole the girlfriend first.
That's
Oh.
right.
That couldn't get her
Completely-
button off.
Yeah, JC was trying to unlock her blouse and couldn't get into her blouse. The big tall guy. Yeah. Who really sort of carved out his niche with that big goofy guy, because that's what he did forever until he wandered off into the mountains, really goofy, pursued by policemen everywhere he goes now. I think he's hiding out in Canada or something like that. That's the rumor.
Yeah.
But it is hard to pinpoint what the movie's about, because it's really about ambiance. It's really about a time and a place. And Bogdanovich isn't very good at constructing a dynamic. I mean, the movie won a lot of awards. I can't remember all awards. I think Shepherd won a Golden Globe or something for it, which I don't. They just stuck her up in front of the camera and said, "Say these words."
To me,
It
it's
feels like that kind of acting.
The more sinning that was going on, the town rotted more. Like slowly, you were banned from the pool hall, then the pool hall was done, then the diner shuts down, and finally
Right.
the last picture show.
The
And
last picture show.
they literally say there's nothing left in this town.
Yeah,
there's not even enough
nothing to
kids
do in this town.
hook
Right.
up anymore.
And that at that time, that's what was happening as America boomed after the war in the 50s and moving into the 60s. That's what was happening to those little towns. Kids were leaving and going into the city. They were going into the army. They were going anywhere to get away from that. And it's a constant theme in American movies, I've got to get out of this place. What's that a lyric from?
Yeah, even that pretty girl, Sybil Shepherd's JC character, was like,
Right.
well, he's the last boy left.
Right.
What are we gonna do?
Well, at the beginning of this story,
He can't tackle worth a damn.
the one boy says, "Well, there's no other women in this town. There's only like JC that's my age, and she's already with what was it, Dwayne?"
With Dwayne, I know. Yeah, she's the only pretty one.
Yeah.
Because the girl that Timothy Bottoms goes out with in the beginning,
Yep.
who's naked also. You're right. There is a lot of nudity in the
There is a
film.
lot.
No fingering, though. Everybody
No.
got stopped, shut down.
And like
Good.
every kind of nudity. I mean,
Bush, penis.
yeah,
You
everything.
get the whole works.
Oh yeah, you did see penises in the pool party, didn't you?
Mhm,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even earlier, one of the guys came out in his I don't know why he was naked at the time, but he just was.
Which one? Where was he naked? I don't. Well, I don't.
It was
I
at, well,
didn't-
if you want me, I'll send you the timestamp. You can go look at a penis
Good.
if you're like curious.
Yeah, I've got to go back and see all of that stuff. I missed it because they cut it out of the TV version. But it's got. We've talked about all the actors that are in it, but they're really doing wonderful, quiet performance. I think Cloris Leachman, she breaks my heart. When I watch this movie, just
They never
Yeah.
said anything was wrong with her. She's just a hypochondriac,
no, she's just
She's just
Cautious.
unhappily married.
but she always needs to go to the clinic, and that's what pissed the coach off.
Why do you suppose she goes to the clinic?
Do you think it was the hysteria at the time? She was going to get finger banged by a psychiatrist so she could. Does that happen? She had hysteria?
She
Yeah, they
could
used to
have. She
describe
could
that.
have had depression. She could have suffered from something. She was going to the clinic. What kind of clinic was it? It's a good point because I don't know.
Well, the
I-
coach said she's always coming down with something. I ain't got
Okay.
time to always take her to the clinic. She thinks she's
Oh.
got something.
See, I didn't
Oh.
because they didn't say what.
I don't think she
What
had
it was, or
anything. I
if
think
there's
she just
anything
had
wrong with her?
mental instability.
I didn't read much. I mean,
She
for all
could
I
have
knew,
been-
she could have worked there because I didn't hear the coach say
Well,
that.
why would you set up a clinic date? Do you need me to take you to the clinic next week, Mrs. Blah blah blah?
What?
Mrs. Popper? And
it's if you lived in that town and grew up in that town and married somebody in that town who was as emotionally distant as the coach is, you might suffer from depression, Tom,
yeah,
and
thought
want to go talk to somebody.
was
I
great.
don't think in West Texas it was a common thing to have a therapist, but she may just go
Mhm.
to talk to her doctor.
Well,
I
but
don't know.
she says at one point too that she, why she didn't leave him if she wasn't happy because was it her or was it the other wife?
Well,
She
she
just
does
said-
hint at something because when she was crying after their first meeting, she says something like, "Oh, you have no idea what's wrong with me, do you?"
Right.
Boy, so there's got to be something that maybe she's keeping from the coach too, and maybe she has a deadline like, "Hey, if I'm gonna die soon,
But why put that in and then not ever reveal what it was?
so we're talking." I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You
There's
can't.
lots of stuff in this. I'm sorry.
No, you talk.
I was just going to say there's lots of stuff in this that just never really made sense or came together as to why it was.
It doesn't resolve itself as neatly and nicely as we're used to in movies.
Yeah.
It kind of the whole movie, I think, kind of rambles, and that's what I mean by saying that I don't think Bogdanovich has quite a handle on a dynamic on it, unless it's what he wants. It all seems to be kind of on the same level. It's all kind of flat.
Mhm.
The Timothy Bottoms character, whose name I can't remember right at the moment, is the
Sonny
only
Crawford.
character. What's his name?
Sonny Crawford.
Sonny, that's right. Is the only character that really has a kind of an arc, a growth arc, where he learns something and then makes a decision. And like you say, he's headed out of town and he makes a decision to stop and go back.
It wasn't
No
doing
other,
his job.
no other. I mean, Dwayne doesn't really learn anything. Dwayne's the same guy
No.
at the end as he is at the
Yeah,
beginning.
he goes to Korea.
But Sonny has compassion for the old woman. He feels terrible for, he has compassion for the one little kid that ends up getting killed.
Played by another actor who went on to some repute, Sam Bottoms, Timothy Bottoms' brother,
Yeah.
who went on to have a really good part in Apocalypse Now.
I mean, he was the only character I really.
You only really cared for, I know, and he was sweet, and he's the character. He's what redeems Sonny's character constantly, because Sonny has a real connection to him, and Sonny has a real connection to Sam the Lion. I mean, Sam the Lion trusts him with his stories. I mean, the shot sitting by the lake with Sam the Lion sitting on the log, or by the it's not even a pond. They call it what do they call that?
Oh, what? Yeah, a trapper.
A track, yeah. No, it's
No,
what
it's
is it?
something like that.
Yeah, it's that Western word. It's basically a hole dug in the ground that fills up with water so the cattle can drink.
Yeah.
But that story he tells about being out at the and Ellen Burstyn. Ellen Burstyn is JC's mother. She's also in. Did we not mention Ellen Burstyn
I
already?
don't think so.
Nope.
Yeah, she went on to Academy Awards with Martin Scorsese and all kinds of really good, and one of the leading
She looked
teachers.
too young to be that lady's mother.
Yeah,
They look like sisters.
well, that's kind of the point of those little West Essex towns. There's not much to do except have
Right.
sex, have babies, and play football.
So she had her young.
And get stomped in football. And the whole town let you know you can't tackle worth a damn. I love that.
Yeah, their teams.
I know.
You turn around at the grocery store and there's a dude staring you down because he lost 121-14.
But can you imagine
Yeah.
putting a guy like Sonny on the line?
Yeah.
So
I
that
mean-
coach couldn't do anything right.
No,
That's
that was a
right.
basketball coach.
Oh, he was a basketball coach.
I don't know who the football coach was.
Oh, okay.
Well, you mean, yeah, he was a
Funny
basketball
you-
coach. And he was probably the coach to everything. He probably coached the track and field team too.
Yeah.
He was gone all the time. And Sonny, I thought Sonny was on the basketball team, but he must have resigned because whenever
Right.
the coach had basketball practice, he was out playing basketball with the coach's
Well,
wife.
I think he was on the team because
Mhm.
he had been playing, or maybe that was just gym class because he'd
Well,
been
he-
playing when the coach pulled him aside and said,
Oh,
"Hey,
that could have been gym class.
I'll get you out of this class if you go
Right.
pick up my wife and take her to the clinic." So
Yeah,
I
okay.
thought he'd been on the team too.
Yeah, I thought he was too. And he may have just been reduced to being water boy and only have to be there for games or something.
Yeah.
I
Maybe
did-
it was just gym class.
I did love the song though when they were singing the song. He's looking at the coach and it's all loyalty.
Yeah.
the
Great.
the soundtrack is great with Lefty Frizzell in there, Hank Williams, all that good old country is really. I love it. I love Lefty Frizzell. He's one of the few CDs I carry in my car for cross country road trips.
Oh wow.
I was born in Saginaw, Michigan. Great song.
We-
What?
so when we watched it, it came up with subtitles, and
Yeah.
I don't know if it was automatically just like that. Maybe from our last one we watched. Anyway, we ended up leaving them on because some of it, the dialogue was a little bit hard to catch.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because the subtitles also did like the songs. It
Yeah,
had just
I
little
know.
notes, and it was doing the lyrics of the songs.
Yeah. I watch everything in subtitles, so I'm used to that because it does, and you'll see the lyric in amongst the dialogue, and it's sometimes hard to tell which is lyric and which is dialogue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we left them on because
Yeah. Well, they were probably on from In the Mood for Love and Grandmaster. Maybe. I don't know what you watched it on.
yeah,
But yeah. But I think what was unique about the movie was one, he shot it in black and white, which the town deserves black and white because it's fading to white, really. It's fading to gray, fading to black, as you say. It's rotting. It's just disappearing. Everything's boarded up. Tumbleweeds blowing down the opening shot of the wind blowing through, and the last shot
And the
of the
kids
wind
sweep-
blowing through town.
yeah.
I
the
know
twin
what?
kid was sweeping the road.
Maybe that's a metaphor for the town finally died because the wind was
Oh.
blowing dust and there was no reason to sweep, right?
Right.
So it's like he's trying to save a dying town, and then when he gets run over at the end, there's no one left to sweep it up. Now it's
It's
just
going to
gone.
blow away. Well, that's what happens to those little towns. They blow away when people leave them, and people hold them down, hold the buildings down, hold the businesses down. The wind comes in and blows it right away.
Those
Yeah.
guys didn't even care. They're sitting there talking,
Yeah,
having
I
a
thought that was-
conversation around this kid laying on the
Who knows?
ground
Yeah.
dead. What was he doing
Yeah.
on the road with a broom?
He was useless anyway.
He was sweeping. he was
They didn't-
useless.
they
He
had
was
no
blah,
hard
blah, like
feelings.
just having a conversation.
And I got a medical background. I'm like, nobody move him. He may be okay. And he just
Nobody-
drags.
Well, nobody takes his pulse until Timothy Bottoms runs up, and yeah, I feel bad when Timothy Bottoms drags him across to the step.
And they're just watching, letting him do it. No one checked
Could
him to
have a
see if
neck
he was
injury.
actually.
Whoa. Hey,
William,
where the hell
What'd
did
you
come
get
from?
here?
how do you do that?
I just
Are
material.
you an Avenger?
I am.
Yeah, the fast
The
one, the really
Revenger.
fast one. Well, I'm glad you're here. We're talking about
you.
the Last Picture Show. And while we're mentioning the name, remembers what the Last Picture Show was at the movie theater?
Red River?
Red River. And have we
Yes,
talked about
Johnny
Red River?
Boy.
Look at you.
We
Red
did.
River was actually in this movie as
The
something they
Last
were
Picture
playing.
Show. It was the last.
As
picture.
what? It
Oh,
was
that's
the
what
last.
you're talking
That's
about.
what he
Yes.
just asked that question.
I thought you meant what was the last picture show, as in like
Well,
like
they
in
just sit
actual
there
real life,
and
not
look
in the
cute.
movie.
There you go.
Yeah.
And what was the name of the movie theater? What was the first picture show that was on the marquee
I don't-
when the movie opens?
Frankenstein?
No. Father of the Bride.
Father of the Bride.
Oh,
You're
close. You were close.
Spencer Tracy
Dang it.
and
knew.
Elizabeth Taylor.
It was a F, and I had the bride in there. That's
Well,
why
they
Frankenstein jumped in my mind.
right. They also showed Elizabeth Taylor on the movies because you could see
Right.
it on the screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did notice that it was Red River playing because I was like, "Whoa, we watched that movie too."
I know I'd forgotten that about this movie, and I thought, oh, this is so cool because we talked about
Yeah.
Red River, we watched it, and now they're watching it. It's the Last Picture Show. Let it not be an omen for us, not the
Mhm.
Last Picture Show.
Yeah.
That the Last Picture Show is the Last Picture Show. But so we were talking before William dropped in out of the sky about the town blowing away,
Yes.
the metaphor of the town, and the metaphor and the real story, the dynamic of the story is the town just sort of slowly rotting, disappearing piece by piece, losing its heart when it loses Sam the Lion. As everybody says, ever since Sam the Lion died, everything just went downhill. What everybody didn't notice was it was already going downhill.
Right.
But that was good news for Dwayne because he didn't have to pay him back the money for the Mexico trip.
That's right. That's
Sam
right.
the Lion owned everything.
He owned everything that JC's dad, the oil guy, didn't own.
Yeah.
Sam the Lion owned. He owned property, but he owned dirt and he owned businesses. And if the freeway didn't go near you, and that was the time when they were building the interstate highway system, and if the freeway went over there, your town was dead because
Like
that's where everybody went.
I liked the little story about how was it JC's mom that was saying that she gave Sam the Lion that nickname?
Yes.
It was JC's mom, right? Yeah, I
No.
gave him that nickname,
What was
and I
it called?
loved
They
him.
went swimming in the trap or
The Trace. Is it the
Trace?
Trace?
They were all naked.
no, that was
Oh.
the pool.
That was in the pool. That was in the rich guy's pool.
Woo.
But
William, you liked that scene?
Well, let me tell you something. Well, I don't want to interrupt, but I mean, like, I was 13 years old when I saw that movie, and Sybil Shepherd
Oh, yeah.
was and I was on a my sister had taken her boyfriend to the drive-in. She brought me along, I think, to try to keep him from trying to bang her or something. That was not a movie I should have been watching because when I see Sybil Shepherd get naked, my sister turned at me all judgmentally and said, "Turn your head away, you little pervert." And every scene, she would
Well,
not
you're
allow
going.
me to see it. Turn your head. And it's like, oh my God. I mean, Sybil Shepherd, are you kidding me? Oh, she was a cover girl. So not only that, even afterwards, we're sitting at home in a Playtex bra commercial will come on. Turn your head, you little pervert. I'm like, what? It's a bra commercial. So
that could have been a scene from the movie.
right. But
I mean,
yeah,
that's the kind of morality that there was at that
Right.
time.
right.
Yeah.
But Sybil Shepherd, oh my God, what was she, like 20?
20. It said, yeah. it
Jeez.
just-
Funny, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
And she was cast, from what the legend is, she was cast primarily because of her
breasts.
blonde looks, but her blankness
Oh.
and her breasts.
So how do you get that job to just be like, okay, get me 100 women in here. Let's see all their boobs.
That's what you do.
And I'm
See
going to
which one has the vacant stare.
Yeah.
That's it.
The
Yeah.
vacancy.
And Bogdanovich fell in love with her. I don't know. I don't think they were ever married, but they lived together.
Yeah, they were
He
together
brought
for-
her to Hollywood. And how many movies did she do with him? Daisy Miller, and one other one. I can't remember.
Well, I guess if you're trying to make a sexy movie, you may want to see the breasts before you turn the camera on, right? Sometimes
Oh
You
yeah,
it's going to be pink and it's brown and they're not symmetrical.
Dude, I've never. Well, one time
You
I
know?
saw a pair of breasts that I didn't think were beautiful, and that was in a strip club. I was like, why are you?
Sometimes they
doing
get
that?
veins at all.
I don't care about veins, small, big, however.
Well, if you're trying to
breasts
make
are
a sexy
beautiful.
Hollywood movie, you're
Well,
gonna
yeah,
want to like
shove
the
it.
cream of the crop.
That's why you
know?
got stunt doubles.
Well,
Breast-
especially on JC. That's why you have body doubles. That's right.
Yeah.
Especially on a character like JC, she's perfection. She's as everybody thinks she's a perfection. They think she's the only beautiful girl in town, the only
Stuck
pretty
in a
girl in town.
horrible town too. Jesus. Her options
what
were
we were
running
saying.
out. She was like, "Oh, all right. Well, that guy sucked. What about?" And then her mom, Ellen
Well, they-
Burstyn, she was a hooker back then too. What an
Yeah.
attractive lady she was.
Oh yeah. What about Cloris Leachman? Cloris
Leachman.
Yeah.
Yes, and I
was
thought she
surprised
was
by that.
amazing. And
She
and
was.
also Eileen Brennan, the woman that worked at the coffee shop, or
Oh yeah,
Right.
I thought she was
Genevieve.
the hottest of
See-
them all.
she was from Private Benjamin. I know that's one
Right.
movie I don't know if y'all might have seen, where Goldie
Right.
Hawn joined the
Yeah.
army and she was the captain. Yeah,
She
they
was
were
a great
all
character.
great. Yeah, they were all great.
Well, that's the thing that makes it work for me is that there are all these really wonderful, deeply felt and realized performances. Brent, even in a relatively small part, like Eileen Brennan plays Genevieve, the owner of the diner. Sam the Lion. There's just so much authenticity in Ben Johnson. There always is in everything Ben Johnson does, and he doesn't have a big, huge range, but there's just whenever he talks, you listen because it feels like he's been there. He's been there and he's done that and he knows what's going on. And Timothy Bottoms fails for me a little bit because he's the Mary Tyler Moore part in a way. He's the sort of innocent in the middle of all this learning, watching all these characters around him, but he doesn't bring to it. I don't know. I walk away halfway through the movie. I turn my head away and I think the guy is just dumb. It's not like he's really has that American cliched innocence where you just are an observer until you have to act. And he doesn't have to act. He doesn't have to express himself until he calls those guys whatever he calls them when he picks up the body of his dead friend in the middle of the street and drags him out and he gets really angry. I mean, he just is swept along by all the characters. And it's a difficult part to play and to bring a reality to it. But Bottoms doesn't work for me in the movie somehow.
Wasn't that his brother, the guy who played
Sam Bottoms, yeah.
Sam Bottoms? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Plays the kid who gets hit.
what was the kid's name? I
Oh
can't remember in the movie.
yeah, it was.
I get confused because I thought when Sam the Lion dies and Sam the Lion leaves the pool hall to Sonny and leaves the diner to Genevieve, and leaves the movie theater Mrs. Mosby or Mosey, he leaves $1,000 to somebody that everybody treats with derision, and I thought it was that kid.
Right.
But
I
and is
thought it
that
was
and
Two.
he's got two names. It's like Joe Bob or something like that. Does anybody have the cast list up on
Yeah,
their
and
screen?
it's got
Just look for
Bobby Sheen.
Bobby what?
Bobby Sheen, Leroy, Miss Mosey, Teacher Chester.
Well, just
Coach
see
Popper.
Joseph Bottoms, who plays him.
Look for Sam Bottoms and see
Sam
who's Sam
Bottoms,
Bottoms.
rather.
Sam Bottom.
I don't know.
They don't have him on this one.
So to me,
Yeah.
I'll look for a different one.
that scene where they take the kid and
Oh, and give yeah.
yeah,
Get him
was-
laid.
Oh, get him
The
laid.
woman in the back seat of the pickup or the back seat of the
that
car.
scene was terrible.
She was
They're all
mean.
standing around watching.
I definitely, look, that was the 50s. It's probably different back then, but I mean, like, our sensibilities that we have now,
Billy.
it's like, oh my God,
Billy.
there you go.
How did we not come up with
Billy, okay.
Billy.
Yeah, Billy's got to be the name of the real innocent.
At that point, you see the only thing out of that one is you see Sonny like obviously feeling bad about it, but he's
Yeah.
the only one that feels anything but,
I
hey, we're
ju-
doing this kid a favor.
I kind of think Jeff Bridges looked like it was bothering him a little bit too. I think,
Mhm.
even though he did, he was cheering it on. He was kind of half-hearted. It looked like it was bothering him a little bit as well.
Well, not enough so he owned up to it. I mean, he
Right,
hides in the
right, he
back of the
hid.
car
He
so
hid.
Sam the Lion doesn't know he was involved.
Right.
I don't know what type of prostitute, when you finish, punches you in the nose.
And then what did she say? The next time it's going to be $3.50.
Yeah,
No, she said I wouldn't even do it again for
for
$3.50.
$3.50.
Is it $3.50?
It's
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, because back in those days, they didn't have a lot
I
of
had
money.
$40 to go to Mexico. I mean,
They paid her like $1.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whatever the market will
we made
bear.
enough.
Well, the market for her, that sounds about right.
That's what they were
I,
saying.
I raised 13 cents to get Lucy Manchester to take her clothes off and back behind the bushes behind my house. But that was only 13 cents, and all she did was take her clothes off.
Wow,
It's worth it.
good for you. How old were you? 30.
I was probably 8 or 9.
And how old was she? 30.
She was 32. No, she was I think 12 or 13.
Oh wow, so she's starting to develop a little bit.
How do you
Yeah, she was starting to develop a little bit.
upperclassmen in that age group?
Well,
You're pretty smooth talker for 8.
Yeah, for an 8-year-old.
well, I had some friends in the neighborhood help me raise the money. It
Oh,
wasn't
nice.
like I went out and earned it or anything.
Would you start at 5 cents and she talk you up to 13? So you guys,
Yeah, we just it's everything you got. Whatever you got, get it. So we just got everything. Being honest, Midwestern kids, we just raised as much money as we could, and 13 cents was what we had.
and she said, "Fine, deal." Wow.
She said thanks, and she stripped down, said, "Got what you want," and then put her clothes back on, her little tie of white underpants and her top and her shorts, and ran home.
Look,
Anyone else got 13 more cents?
take the cannoli, leave the panties.
Yeah, we were pigs back then.
Yeah.
Not that we're not pigs still, but yeah, that's a really terrible scene, and almost a cliche scene of setting that the really sort of helpless, guileless, innocent, introducing him to sex in the backseat of a car for $3.50 or $3 or $2.50, whatever. What do they charge him? Yeah, I don't know.
I think it was $1 or something. They were
Yeah.
like, she'll do it for $1. And then at some point they said, like, everyone got together, like, chipped in 40 cents.
They
I'm
took
guessing.
something from that kid doing that. It's soulless to do something like that.
That was the town.
It
Oh,
took
I think
his
that was the point
innocence.
of that scene.
I know it's just so dark. to
Every
me.
time something horrible happened, something shut down in the town like it was dying with the people.
And then the sound of the wind coming, it just had that
Yeah.
desolate feel into it,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what is Sybil Shepherd doing in that damn town? Get out of there.
She does. Doesn't she get to finally go to college and
So she married that dude just to piss her dad off so she could go to college.
That was such a setup because she let him know she was going. And then like he was trying to get close to her. She goes, I can't even drive. Like
Yeah.
it's like she didn't want to marry him.
No, she
She's
used
just
him.
creating all that drama. She saw the cop and she's like, and she looked disappointed when it didn't look like, and then
Yep.
they whipped around and then she kind of looked happy. It's like you use that kid.
oh, that's why she called her parents and let them know what she was
Right.
doing,
That's
so
why
she
she
could
left the
get
note.
caught.
Yep.
She knew they
So
didn't
she-
know the marriage.
Yeah, so
She
they'd
knew
have to
she
send
was
her
out.
away to college.
I don't know what she said, but it cracked me up. She's just basically like, your eyes starting to freak me out.
Yeah.
Anything to get this guy off of me.
Yeah.
Hey man, back away with your freak eye.
Yeah.
We're not having sex
Yeah.
till that thing heals.
And whereas Molly likes you to wear an eye patch.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again.
I said Molly likes him to wear an eye patch. That's the
Why do
little,
you think we got birds?
That's the little.
Are you
pirate
still
thing.
wearing the eye patch and the pirate hat and all that
Yeah.
whole thing?
We got
And
birds.
he's got the bird on his shoulder. He's got the whole
Right.
thing.
Avast,
We
you
have it
made
at- We might have one from a costume, but
it.
I think y'all have plans for this evening.
Maybe.
oh, dig up that costume.
But
What is she dressed as?
She dressed as when we were on Dead Guy's Coffin Classics. You turned into a sexy pirate.
yeah. I
Oh,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, they had a costume change for her.
Oh, really? Oh, back to the movie then.
So
Stay on track.
So the dynamic of the movie, the story of the movie is the town blowing away in the wind, in the West Texas wind.
Yeah.
But and sex. We've talked a lot about sex. We talked about nudity. We've talked about a number of times how men just sort of fall on top of the women. There's not a lot of
Gyration.
emotional commitment to it.
I know.
We talked about sex in the back of the car. So that the movie seems to be also about sex, about the way men and women have sex together. They don't ever get into any kind of
She banged the dad's friend just to lose her virginity, so she banged the other guy.
And then he went and got married.
Then he went and got married.
and then he went off and got married. Yeah.
Come
He
back and
treated
see
her-
me when you're not a virgin anymore, he said.
Yeah.
I
Right.
didn't give her long.
So
Yeah,
she-
that's why she has sex with Jeff Bridges, or doesn't have sex the first time and have sex. It's just so that she can lose it. She's totally manipulative from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And then he couldn't get it up the first time. And it's like, dude,
wrong with
you're
you?
laying on top of Sybil Shepherd at 20. Something's wrong with you, man.
Yeah, but she obviously wasn't.
Oh, well, yeah.
It
She
wasn't
was-
the right situation, of course.
That was Dwayne, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I think
Dwayne.
he really liked her, but then he could tell that she just wasn't.
Yeah, but would that
into
be
it,
the
didn't really
opposite
want-
of Me Too? You tell everybody we had sex.
Right.
That was weird. Like, tell him it was good, too.
Well, because she.
Yeah,
she-
How
This
could he
is in the
carry it
concrete.
after that experience with her, though? The first time how could he carry a torch for her all the way? I mean, he goes to Korea
Yeah.
in order to get away from her because he can't have her. He
Yeah.
comes back and he breaks the nose of his best friend because he's now hanging out with her.
He smashed a bottle on his face, on his
That's
eye.
right. He almost blinds him. That's right. He doesn't break his nose. He almost blinds him.
Yeah, that was terrible.
And she like had fun breaking up with him on the phone.
And then this is the thing too.
Yeah.
Cloris Leachman comes to the hospital and sends him a little note through the nurse.
Right.
And then he looks at it, and I was like, just do the right thing. Talk to her. And he's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm asleep." I'm like, you're a piece of shit. You really ought to do that to that. First of
He's
all,
a coward.
yeah, he's a coward.
And he's the audience. He's us. I mean, Bogdanovich really is indicting us, indicting men, I think, all the way down the line. And
Why do
women.
you like
And
these kinds of
Bogdanovich
movies?
doesn't like people very much.
Why do you like these movies that really like denigrate men? Seriously.
I don't know. I wanted to watch this movie because I really liked HUD so much. And
we
Larry
were on the
McMurtry.
Texas thing. We were on the McMurtry thing. That's all right.
Yeah.
It
And
just
that's
led
what-
into it.
Because I haven't seen this movie since it came out. And I remember when it came out, thinking that in terms of its cinematographics, in terms of what other people were doing with movies at the time, 1971, I think, isn't it?
Yep. 71.
It was really unique and a unique story and a unique way of telling story and wonderful performances and probably stood out and got Academy Award nominations. And I don't know if it won any or not, but it got a lot of nominations.
Did Cloris Leachman win for that?
I am checking.
Please. I for some reason I thought she had won for that performance.
She might have. I feel like she was nominated. Excuse me. But so I don't know that I love it. I'm glad we watched it though, because it is interesting for that reason. A lot of movies do indict men and manhood way before the Me Too movement, way before.
Best actress in a supporting role, Cloris Leachman. Best actor, supporting actor, Ben Johnson.
They won or were nominated.
Those won. They were
Yes.
nominated for Best Picture, nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role. Jeff Bridges, nominated for Best
Actor
Actress in a Supporting Role.
Jeff
Ellen Burstyn,
said,
Oh, good.
Oscar Best Director nominee,
Wow.
nominee for Best Writing Screenplay, and a nominee for Best Cinematography.
Nominated for almost everything.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the cinematography a little bit because I want to talk about it in terms of HUD. Excuse me, HUD, another West Texas story by Larry McMurtry. which we talked about. I think the cinematographer on that was James Wong Howe. We talked about how really beautiful and elegant and almost poetic some of the frames were and some of the cinematography. And
Yeah.
I don't find this at all. I mean, this is true to the heart of the movie. I mean, even the shot out by the trace when Ben Johnson is sitting on the log and telling the story. I mean, it's not a pretty pond. It's not a pretty lake. There's nothing really pretty about it. It's just a trace dug into the ground by bulldozers who go away and filled up with water so the cattle have somewhere to drink. There's nothing pretty or elegant about it. It's just as plain as the town is, which is good. I mean, that's good in terms of making it a good movie, but it doesn't make it easy to watch. You know what I mean? Do you
No, I
agree?
get it. I agree.
It was probably intentional that it was like
Oh yeah,
wasn't. Yeah.
yeah. I think it's intentional. That's why I'm surprised. But I'm surprised that the Academy nominated it for an Academy Award, except that they didn't see very many black and white movies at that time. I don't think.
Yeah.
And any movies that were as deliberately black and white,
Yeah.
as deliberately as plain as this movie. But so shall we try to rate it?
Sure.
Want me to go first?
Yeah.
I'm only going to give it a 3.5.
Right.
I think because I think the performances save it. I don't think Bogdanovich does as good a job as he could, as the story should have, and as the performances deserved. I mean, he did get those performances, so he worked well with actors. So he'll disagree with me all day long on that. But I don't think it's the surprising, stunning piece of cinematography, cinematographics, or filmmaking that it was taken to be at the time. I don't know what else was nominated that year. I don't know what other movies there were that year. It was the beginning of the 70s, so it was the beginning of really what was the renaissance of American movies with Scorsese and Coppola. And I mean, there were so many great movies made during the 70s that wiped it out in terms of its power. And Bogdanovich had a bit of a career as a director, but never anything that was matched this. And he's really better known now as a critic, as the guy who was a great fan of Orson Welles and redeemed Orson Welles, and was a great fan of Truffaut and introduced Truffaut. I mean, he's a film critic and a very good film critic. I mean, he's very smart about film. He really knows film and he really thinks about it, and he's worth reading. But I don't think, as I've said several times, I don't think he brings a dynamic presence to the movie the way you want a director to do in this movie. And I think it's one of the reasons that it lies flat for me, except for all the boobies,
Yeah.
the bodacious tatas, as we say in Animal House, and these wonderful performances that sort of pop up and are consistently one. I mean, Ellen Burstyn, it sort of pops up there in the beginning and then she disappears, and then she pops up there later on when her daughter gets married. And you really get a strong, she's on top of it. She never loses it, except when she talks about Sam the Lion, and you realize that she's the young girl that Sam the Lion talked about, the crazy girl who wanted to ride a horse across the trace, and that he would go crazy with in a minute if she showed up here now. That other American trope or canard or myth in American movies is that woman that you love when you're young, that you see when you're young, and you fall madly in love with, and you're always in love with her the rest of your life, no matter how many times you get married, how many kids you have. There's a scene with Everett Stone in Citizen Kane where he talks about a woman wearing a white dress with a parasol that he passed on a river once when he was a young man, and he fell madly in love with her, and he's been in love with her ever since. That obsession that American men, maybe all men, have with that thing that creature, that thing of beauty that we fall in love with when we're young, and we always are in love with it mostly because we're always in love with ourselves as young people. That's what our narcissism is. Anyway, so I give it a 3.5. Molly?
Yeah,
Me?
Molly.
Well, I was leaning more towards a 2.5 or a 3.
Oh, okay, good. Slam it.
Well, and it's not that it was a terrible movie, and I think that it's one of those movies that is definitely worth having seen as a reference, and just
Yeah.
for the kind of historical
Summer
and
reading.
yeah, and for just to see there's so many actresses that went on and did, to see them in this role when they're younger in their career,
Right.
as well. But it was difficult for me to watch. It was slow. There wasn't that much that you were really invested in, and it
Yeah.
just seemed like everything was an excuse to lead to like showing more,
Right.
nudity and sex scenes.
Such a
It
good-
didn't really come together for me, but there was, it wasn't terrible. There was stuff that you take away from it. When you look into it more, maybe there was kind of a parallel between, the mom and JC, and then Sam the Lion and Sonny. Like they're
Yeah.
just repeating kind of history.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'd give
Yeah.
it a 3, but it wasn't something that I would really go and watch
Yeah,
again.
no, that's something that's definitely there in the story, in the structure of the story, that JC's mom, the Ellen Burstyn character, is doesn't want JC to turn out the way she did. She wants
Right.
her to have something in her life and not be stuck in this town and only married to the richest guy in town because that's what you decided to do, not because of love or anything like that. And Sam the Lion is trying to raise in his own way Sonny to be the kind of man that he is, and a man to be proud of, a man similar, I think, in lots of ways to the Melvin Douglas character in HUD that we saw. The man who's been through it, done it, had a love, had a wife, had a life, made something of himself, enough of himself to call himself a man. I don't usually like the whole dialogue about or the argument or the discussion about what makes a man, but to a certain extent, you have to have that. Somebody was talking about, I can't remember, the anti-vaxxers and the people who don't want to wear masks and don't want to get vaccinated because it's an infringement on their rights. That's not manhood. That's not being a grown-up. Anyway, just to throw a little politics into it. I sidetracked. Sorry, I got diverted.
Well, can I just say one thing about that while we're on that subject, though?
Yeah.
But if you see, and I've had COVID and I've also been vaccinated with both, but you
Right.
see if people are fully vaccinated and they're still getting sick, and then the borders are open and people are coming in, they're not even being tested and they're not being vaccinated. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. Because if you want to make sure everyone's vaccinated, why aren't you vaccinating these people that are coming into our country?
Right. No, you're right. No, it's all been from the very beginning handled
Badly.
really
Poorly.
clumsily and handled not as a real thing, but handled as a political football. And we'll do this. The CDC says you don't need to wear a mask because they're trying to get the economy back. So they don't want to. Yeah, there's a long discussion about how
It's a mess.
mistakes were made from the beginning and right up till now.
And a lot of unelected people in charge of it. which is
Right.
weird.
Well,
Who do you
let's hear
trust?
your
My review? All right, I'm gonna give
Tommy?
it a little higher than Molly because I lived in a town called Slinger for
Eh.
about 20
Oh,
years.
I know Slinger. Yeah.
It's a great.
Do you
name for a
remember when
town.
it used to be jumping downtown and everything
Yeah.
was great? It's dead now.
Is it really?
Oh.
Yeah.
Movie theater, bowling alley's gone, all the bars are gone. They turned it into a residential area.
It's weird walking through downtown Slinger because I never saw it when it was booming. I've never seen the businesses, but I've heard Tom talk about them, and it's all residential now, but you can tell that these houses at one point were a business. They're very
Yeah.
looking for residential.
The hardware store is now a house.
It's hard to picture.
They don't build anything new. They just refurbish old, and the town is slowly like rotting. So it's a little bit.
Isn't there a racetrack out there or something?
There's a racetrack. Yeah.
Does that still?
Ski hill. Those
What?
two are one. A racetrack and a ski hill.
The racetrack is still there. The ski hill reopened. I think it was closed for a while, and that
closed,
okay.
opened. That's the only thing that draws anyone in, and the racetrack is overpriced and doesn't draw as many people in.
Mhm.
And with roads better and cars better, people just live there and drive into Germantown or somewhere else to
Somewhere
to work. Right.
entertainment and work, and
Yeah, it
So
is
I
pretty
could-
dead.
You're still there, right?
my parents are still there.
You can still see the shadow of what it used to be, but
I kissed a
Pretty
girl
good
from
stand
Slinger
for you.
once.
Did you really?
She was a great kisser. That's-
So
Yeah. So you came from Slinger, yeah,
watched it die.
right?
As soon as I
Watched-
got
You
there, it just
probably
died.
contributed to its death.
Something like
Are your
that.
people still there? Do you still have people there?
My parents are still there, but
Yeah.
they won't be there long. So
Hey, man, if
Nothing-
they live a few more years, I
a little
think.
bit. Well, this movie bored me a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It was just like, what am I watching? Like, yeah, the stories are kind of interesting, but they're sprinkled, and then they just called it a movie, which was
Yeah,
We're-
it doesn't condescend to the town in that it doesn't try to make the town into something that it isn't. It doesn't romanticize it, I don't think. I think it treats it fairly honestly, but it is so, and therefore it is boring and blowing away because the town is boring and blowing away.
so 3 for me.
3, okay.
I would also give it a 3. And first of all, you talking about Ben Johnson wanting the kid to be a good man. He was not a good man. He's
Who, Ben
banging.
Johnson?
Oh, the kid, Sonny.
Yeah,
You-
yeah.
you know, he's banging a married woman,
Yep.
and then he
But he
starts
feels bad.
banging his best friend's girl. Dude, where I come from, that's a no-no. You don't cross, even if they break up, you don't date someone that
Without
your best
permission.
friend or your brother. They don't even ask permission where I come from. It's untouchable. You don't do it. So to me, I thought that was kind of ugh. But I know, look, it's a small town. Pickens are pretty slim, and
he's young. He's
she's-
not thinking with his head.
and
He's
she
thinking-
Right.
is Sybil
Yeah.
Shepherd in her 20s. Come on. I mean, like, I know it's
Well,
hard to be
like you said, you said something about Sybil Shepherd. You're lying. You're there in a room with Sybil Shepherd in her 20s, and you can't get an erection. You said the same thing. I mean, she's the only thing of interest in this town. There's one, the Yellow Rose of Texas. She's the last
She was
one.
really mean to the other girl who
Well, neither one of them seemed like they liked one another. Like
No.
when they went up there to kiss, he's watching Sybil Shepherd kissing Jeff.
yeah, but when she graciously took her boobs out and let him play with it, that's
just
when he
seemed
broke
a
up
little
and
bored,
basically
yeah.
said, you weren't that good looking. Like, to her face.
Yeah.
Like, that's pretty rough, dude.
that is rough. But like she never.
What about how business-like she was, just taking off her bra and taking out and saying,
That's so
But she
awesome.
just had
Yeah.
this look on her face, though, like, yeah, I'm not really into it. I'm just doing it for you. It's like she wouldn't seem like she was into him either.
They weren't
It's-
good together, but
it's transactional sex all the way, everywhere.
Yeah,
it's still
everything.
when a girl takes her tits out, you have to be a little more polite than say
Right.
you're ugly to her face.
That's true. I mean, the least you can do if she hauls out her boobs is
Yeah.
not criticize anything about her.
Yeah, I mean,
She's doing
Especially
something for
in
you.
that day.
She's not doing that for her.
no, she's probably cold. Or your
Well,
hands,
his hands were cold.
your hands
yeah.
were cold. Yeah.
You had to rub them together. Like, you should have known, like a little, okay, here we go.
I'll put on some gloves.
Then told her she wasn't that good looking. Oh, that's a.
But
He
yeah,
didn't
what,
find out.
what,
He
what,
wasn't
what,
lying.
what were his exact words, though? He didn't say you're ugly.
No, she said, at least or I'm the only good looking one available or something. And then he said, you're not.
Oh
that
no,
good
she
looking."
said, I don't want you showing pictures of me after we broke up. I want my pictures back because I don't want you showing
Oh.
pictures of me
Yeah,
how
that's right.
good looking I was. And he goes,
I want
you're
my
not that
pictures
good
back.
looking.
That's right.
She
That's
let
a,
him take
that's a,
pictures of her boobs.
Maybe.
that's a real flash forward to iPhones and sex. What do they call it?
They were
Sex?
sexting back
Sex-
then.
They were
Yeah.
sexting back then in their own little way with a Kodak
Polaroid.
camera.
What you
Yeah.
used to do the fax, right?
Fax
Well,
them.
Fax.
No, it's probably
No, you got to
before
fax your
Polaroid.
ass, right? You sit on
Yeah.
the.
when I was that age, we just drew pictures. We didn't have
Yep.
on the
Mark, they
wall
have
of the
porn.
cave.
It's like the
On the
Titanic,
cave
the
wall.
sketches.
That's right.
Mark had to lay in a field and watch the clouds form.
That's right.
What looked like porn.
Look like sheep fucking.
So generally, so the consensus is that it's a valuable story. It's a valuable movie to see as a
Mhm.
historical reference, but that it's not a great movie. It doesn't entertain. It doesn't really
Yeah.
teach us anything, except the thing I take away with it is that there is this American obsession with boobs, with sex, and just because it's an obsession doesn't mean it's not a justifiable. The French are obsessed with sex too in a different way, but transactional sex is what it seems to be about all the time. I'll give you this here. You can touch my tit. And
Well, the thing is, Eileen Brennan too. She seemed like. Now, how did you say her name? Genevieve. How did you say the French way?
oh, Genevieve.
That's awesome. I like that.
I
Genevieve.
love it. Yeah.
So, like she seemed to be the the housekeeper kind of character from the other movie. What was her name?
Patricia Neal.
Patricia Neal kind of
Oh.
thing, you know?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
it looked to me like the young boy was kind of checking her out, like he was kind of thinking if it was possible, if he could kind of, and it's like, yeah, keep your thing in your pants, man. That's a woman there. You're a boy, you know?
Yeah. And I think for a moment, there's a moment when there's a look on her face where you think she thinks about it too, but says, I'm not going to do it because he's not ready yet.
Right.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know what she does to keep herself entertained when she probably goes home and reads romance novels and I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't
And
I
know.
those are
suspect maybe that guy that paying Sybil Shepherd might pay her a visit every so often. He treated her like shit when he dumped her off, and like she was trying to talk to him in the car, and he was fucking get out, and then just pulled off on her when she was trying to. It's like that's
yeah.
really, like that beautiful woman, and she
Well, it
gave
was
you
her
that
friend.
gift, and then
daughter.
you treat her like shit.
It was her friend's
Oh.
daughter. He can't ever admit to that.
Well, I guess, but come on, man.
But
And,
he's-
and even if he liked it, he can't
Old
enjoy.
table.
He can't go back to it.
Like
Clu
she
Gallagher, yeah, Clu Gallagher,
Clu Gallagher,
Clu Gallagher had a kind of a career playing that part a lot, playing the kind of slick but brutish man.
scoundrel.
Yeah. So the movie has a definite attitude about maleness and manhood, and it has a definite attitude about femaleness and femininity and women. I mean, I think the movie has a lot of respect for the Cloris Leachman part, a lot of sorrow, a lot of I don't know. She's my favorite part in the whole thing, just because I think she's genuinely a good person. I
Me
know
too.
she's married and that she's supposed to honor that vow, but I'm not crazy about those vows anyway. If it isn't,
If you're not
if it
happy,
isn't- if you're not happy, if it isn't in
Right.
the back and forth between the two people,
right?
then it's just on paper and it's pointless.
Well, the way that movie ended too was kind of odd, with her just holding his hand and like staring into his eyes.
Well, I mean, like
She went
that's
from
another
totally
thing.
pissed to
She
back
was
to
like,
madly in
she
love.
was like, right. I know he flipped her so quickly, and it was she genuinely loved him.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, she did, and he learned so much from her, or could have. I don't think he does.
No,
He's
a
stupid.
schmuck.
He's too stupid.
He's a schmuck.
Right.
He is a schmuck,
Like,
and
she's
that's why
tough.
his performance sort of fails me the most of all of them, and fails the movie the most, because I think he almost plays him as just stupid. I don't think there's that much difference between him sometimes and and Billy, the
Right.
silent, mute, possibly
Sweeper, the boy with the broom.
the sweeper, the guy who's. And I know we're not supposed to say retarded, but whatever, slow, the
Yeah.
whatever they call that
Mhm.
mentally
I love the
challenged.
character though. I really did. What a
Oh,
pure
Sa-
kid.
oh yeah, he was great. I loved him too, and such a great face on that kid.
Right.
I think Sam Bottoms died kind of young, tragically, just in the last
53.
year.
Brain tumor.
Brain tumor, yeah, yeah, too young,
Yep.
too beautiful. It's an interesting family. I think there was another actor in that Bottoms family.
I think there were 4.
Yeah, yeah, and they were kind of like the Phoenix, River Phoenix and Joaquin Phoenix and that family.
The Baldwin
Hippies.
brothers, if you will.
What?
Well, the Baldwin brothers, if you will.
Yeah, or if you won't, they'll
Yeah.
insist. They insist you do. All right. So good. So that's it. So not. I think we've done it in.
Yeah, that's
All right. If I could, for next week, can we talk about that?
Oh, yeah.
These two have never seen True Romance.
Is that the Oliver Stone, Woody Harrelson movie?
No.
Which is
True
True
Romance is Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette and
Christopher Walken.
Christopher
isn't it, you said?
Walken.
Oh, that's a great Walken scene with Dennis Hopper, right?
Dennis Hopper, right.
Right.
I was telling him about it, and I said, "Have you ever seen it?" And they're like, neither one of them had seen it. So I sent them the trailer. I said, I would suggest it for the next one if you're open to it, because they have never seen it.
Yeah, we could see it. I mean, I don't. It's far from being a great movie. Who did direct it?
I don't know.
I
think-
got
isn't
it.
You look it up?
Oliver Stone?
Tony Scott,
Tony Scott.
Tony Scott. That's right, Tony Scott.
Christian
okay.
Slater, Patricia Arquette, Dennis Hopper, Val Kilmer, Gary Oldman, Brad
So
Pitt,
many
Christopher
stars in it.
Walken, Samuel
Yeah.
L. Jackson,
That doesn't necessarily make it a good movie.
Michael
That
Rapp-
doesn't make it a good
Michael
movie.
Rappaport.
James Gandolfini.
Gandolfini. Come on, all the old
Gandolfini's in
old
it, too.
favorites.
Yeah, it's redeemable for that one
Sizemore?
Chris Walken scene with. I mean, it redeems itself. It's.
You
it's
talking about
so-
the Moors,
what?
the Moors, and the Italians.
Yeah, yeah. Um,
Christopher
it's-
Walken actually laughed and gave him a kiss on the cheek after he told him that. I don't know if you
I like
remember that.
Christopher Walken.
Oh, he's great.
All right.
yeah, no, he's good in it. Yeah, all right. Let's watch True Romance.
True Romance. It's a deal.
And while you're watching it, research and find out what the Woody Harrelson, what's her name, Jeffrey Lewis's daughter,
Yeah,
directed by
Juliette
Oliver
Lewis
Stone.
by
What's-
Oliver Stone. Natural Born Killers.
Natural Born Killers.
That's the movie.
Because
you're
there's
thinking
some
of.
parallel between those two movies, isn't there?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say so. Yes.
Molly, is this all right with you?
Definitely. Right?
Did you see Molly's lovely new hair color?
It kind of
Oh.
matches.
Bring yourself up.
It kind of matches the background. I
I
just
know.
was
That's what I
noticing-
didn't notice it because it goes
Wait.
in the background.
Make
Okay.
yourself big, Molly, so we
I'm-
can see how beautiful. Look.
It's
Look.
Oh
it's
yeah.
Blue
It's-
and purple.
it's purple and
does.
green and
It's
blue,
oh, it's very cool.
kind of
Did you do that
mermaid.
yourself, or did you go somewhere? and have
No, we've got a friend that does hair and
yeah.
it's
Oh
all
yeah, I like that.
Isn't it nice?
Yeah. Is it just that one
Kinda hard to
sort
see
of
on the
streak
camera.
in the middle, in the front?
No, it's all over.
It's everywhere.
Molly's
It's
going
highlights.
Hollywood
it's not
on
the
us.
entire. It's
She
highlights.
is. You know what
She's
she's going to do
gone
next? I
Dump
see
us?
women. I see women out here who have like tinsel, like you used to put on Christmas trees, woven into their hair, like extensions into their head.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go, Mom.
Huh. Well, maybe for Christmas,
Yeah.
No,
get
I
some
think that
popcorn
would
for the
spring.
holiday season.
that stuff catches on everything and it
Tom-
gets all staticky. No,
Tom
Yeah.
was
well,
doing
and
some
what happens when you
popcorn.
wash your hair? Can you wash your hair
It'll
while
be
you got that stuff in there?
I
Good
don't know.
popcorn.
I'm very low maintenance. Like I don't want to have to
Yeah.
No, she's not. That's not her style.
Low
to get up
maintenance.
early and put on makeup
We'll
or
get
do
her a
stuff with my
tinsel.
hair.
We'll get her a tinsel hat.
Yeah, you got. We should watch a Veronica Lake movie sometime and see if you guys are reminded of Molly by Veronica Lake.
The hair.
Oh yeah.
The hair, the way the
Let's
hair
do
falls.
that.
Just,
We'll put that
Yeah.
on the list. the following, we'll look for 'em. Yeah, think of a Veronica Lake movie that you like, and then we'll
Oh,
put
wow.
that on the list for the next time.
I can't remember. I get her and Elizabeth Scott mixed up, but The Glass Key is a not a good movie with Alan Ladd, but it's from a great story by Dashiell Hammett. But let's watch True Romance for next time.
Sounds
And
great.
then I'll find a good movie, a good Elizabeth Scott movie, and we can embarrass Molly.
I would like to watch True Romance with them. I think we may watch it together.
Yep.
Well, it sounds like you just wrangled yourself an invitation. You
I
left it-
did.
Did yeah. We'll be
I'm-
in Vegas together next week.
Yeah, we're going to be in Vegas. We're going to be doing our podcast live from Las Vegas at the
No
World
kidding.
Series of Comedy at the
Yep.
Stratosphere, and I'll be performing there. And they're going to be industry judges at some of the contests.
Oh,
So we're going to have a pretty
great.
good week next week.
Tom's
was-
mom's coming too.
Tom's mom is coming as well.
Oh,
She
really?
wrangled herself an invitation too.
Good. All right, I gotta go.
right.
We've had
Thanks,
enough fun.
Mark.
Thank you,
True
Mark.
Romance next week, and
2
thanks
weeks.
a lot.
2 weeks. Yep. All right.
Thanks.
Take
See
care.
ya.
Yeah. Bye.